Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This is our regular meeting of the Bardstown City Council, February 13th meeting. And I know we have a group of residents I think who would like to address the council this evening. So Peggy, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you all are here to?
I'm Peggy Waters. I live on North 4th Street, close to Dinner Train. And I'm here tonight just to try to get some support. We live in the most beautiful small town in America, and I'm pretty concerned about a lot of the criminal activity that's been going on in our neighborhood in particular. I know it's not unique to Bardstown certainly, but we are trying to protect the safety of everyone that lives in the neighborhood, particularly those of us like me with children. Just since December 2016 is how long I have lived in this neighborhood. And the most recent thing that happened to me is late in the evening on December 30th, I had a woman attempt to break in the home while I was at home with my children. And she was forcibly trying to get into my door. I did call the police, and then when I looked out my back door, she was trying to attempt to break into someone on Barber Avenue, Lila Simpson, her home. Unfortunately, Lila's not able to be here tonight. But this isn't isolated. Prior to that, we had packages taken from our porch, which you thankfully delivered to me from the alley behind Wilson Motel. We've also had and seen people going through our cars. You've had somebody go through your car. You've had things stolen from your vehicle. I've seen people walking around clearly intoxicated, not just in the alley, but right in front of my house. And I won't even say what they're on because I don't even want to guess. I know that I've spoken to the police chief, who's been very generous, and when we are trying to make steps towards making it a safer place. But I'm seeing way too many incidents happen on this side of our town. I've seen police cars, I've seen what I think are drug buys very close by at a certain motel. And it disturbs me very much. I do not want to live with a gun at my side. But right now, that is where I'm going, and I don't want to have to do that. I don't think we should have to do that. I think we can do better. And I really am concerned. I know, Keisha, I wrote you probably in the summertime and we had waited and things like that, but I can't wait anymore. I've had too many things happen to me. I refuse to be a victim. And the next time somebody comes, I'm afraid it'll be much, much worse, the incident. And I'm very concerned about the heightened level of security in our neighborhood. And I'd like for you all to consider that and see if there's any other ways that we can address this. And anyone else who is wanting to speak or talk to this issue, certainly bring that up as well, about trespassing in alleys and things that are going on around our neighborhood, and people who are afraid to go in their yard because of somebody potentially mugging or robbing them or whatever else.
I'll speak up and say something. I'm Peggy's neighbor. My name is Jennifer Mason. I purchased my house a little over a year ago, and since then I have had my car broken into. People, going through my yards. Now, I realize that I'm living in town. I'm not living out in the county. So we're going to have people walking by. That's not a problem. But when you're in my yard and intoxicated and things like that, that is a problem. I am a single woman, alone. I have a job. I work in Louisville. I've been there for 23 years. And I can't be at my house and protect my house all the time. So I've installed security cameras at my home, on the back side of my house and the front side of my house, inside my house. I'm now paying a security company to keep an eye on my house while I'm gone, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day. And like she said, we would just like some support and help. I know the police officers in this town and in the county are taxed, like most small towns in this area. There's drug problems. But we have seen, especially in the spring and the summertime, increased traffic at that certain motel that we were talking about. I remember one evening in spring, this past spring last year, I watched out my bedroom window. There's there's Barber Avenue. There's a little alley there, right there by the Dinner Train. I saw a car parked there, and there was a line of folks coming from that motel, walking over to the car that was parked in the alleyway, coming back. One would go, one would leave, one would go, one to leave. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I got up because I had to use the restroom, and I happened to see the lights that were on in the car, and I saw that. And again, I'm going out, personally, and, I'm protecting myself by having a security system, having cameras, having a company watch my home when I'm not there. But like Peggy said, you know, this has been voted the most beautiful small town, and it's a shame that in this area of the town especially, that we're worried about going outside. I will not take my trash out on Sunday nights after dark. When I do have to go in, I have to work strange hours sometimes, working, overnight or going in early. Scares me to death to get out in my car even though I have cameras. So nobody should have to live like that. I'm a taxpayer. You know, I've been a good citizen, never been in trouble or anything, and it's like, we shouldn't have to live like that. So any help that you all could give us would be great.
I agree.
Anyone else want to speak to the issue that is here with us this evening?
Yes, sir. My name is Tom Wheatley. I live at 528 North 3rd. This meeting couldn't last long enough for me to tell you the laundry list of things that we have experienced at our house over the last several years. We've been there 30 years, but in the last 3 or 4 years, it's just progressively gotten worse. I have witnessed drug deals in the back. I recognize a prostitute when I see them, and they come and go through the hedge behind my house into this certain motel that they've spoken of. I've seen unspeakable things happen in the alley. Sex acts that normal human beings do not do in public. We came home from our farm one day last fall. There's tables and chairs set up in our driveway. There's tinsel all over our trees and the sparkling material all over everything. There had been a party of some kind going on in our driveway. And that's just a few of the things. The things that go on in that alley are just beyond what normal human beings do.
And how they're throwing the needles over.
They blow trash from their property over on mine. We've had condoms and needles we picked up. We have to clean them up all the time. And it goes on. The drug deals are going on all the time. The people are going through the hedges back and forth, and I'm just about to the end of my rope. And like I told the chief a while ago, if it goes on, somebody is going to get hurt. I can't go out in my backyard without my pistol in my back pocket for fear of who I'm going to run into in my backyard. Some of the characters that come and go from this motel, you don't want around. You don't want to be around them. You don't want to associate with them. My property value is down the tubes. I bet Jared could tell you what my house would be worth right now. I've been there 30 years. And it just continues to go down. PVA people want to jack it up, but that can't be. I couldn't sell it now for half what I gave for it. And it doesn't have to be that way. What I don't understand either is how I'm restricted so much on what I can do and what I can't do with my property, but yet this nuisance is allowed to stay there and continue on. I'd like to see something done. Thank you for your time.
Do you know who owns the motel now? Do you know who owns the motel now? Same thing?
You know who owns it. We know who owns it. That's true.
Well, I thought everybody knew who owned that. But
Well, I would just tell you, since this council was elected and since I took over this position, we have tried to, we've heard some of these stories and I've heard feedback from some of the neighbors, and we have made this problem a priority in terms of code enforcement and the police department. I'll let the chief speak to that, but I've even personally talked to one of the owners and told her that, that she needs to be understand that, she's in the historic district. We expect the property to be kept a certain way. And I think you can see in the last year, at least from the property in question, the motel you're referring to, there has been, painting has been done. They've cleaned up a lot of trash. The pool's been emptied. Trash has been cleaned up out of the pool. So cosmetically, there has been some improvement on the property because we made that a priority. And also, I think since Chief has been put in her position, I'll let her speak to the efforts.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you referred to a pool at that hotel. That pool is basically a mosquito pile in the suburbs. It is
Right.
not functional.
Well, I understand. So we had to pump the pool out. We're trying to get them to do some other things with code enforcement on getting rid
When
of it.
it rains, you've got deep water in there again.
Yeah, it's a
And in the
couple.
summertime, you'd have to constantly be pumping it out.
We're working on that issue through code enforcement. I'll let them speak to that. But that may take some legal efforts. But we've already been in front of our code enforcement committee on that already before. But Chief, maybe you could talk to I think maybe the biggest problem is more of the activities associated with the people who are living in that area.
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple of you that are here today, and this is something that we're going to continue to work on. And I think one thing to note, but that all the crime that has happened in the neighborhood, it's unfair to say that it's coming from one particular location. Because we've had car break-ins in the neighborhood, it's unfair to say that it's coming from the motel, because that's an unfair statement. We have car break-ins throughout the city, and we're having problems with car break-ins throughout the city now that are unlocked vehicles, and guns are being taken from that. So that's something that we can all as citizens take that extra step to secure items in our cars, make sure guns are not left in vehicles, and make sure that we don't become crimes of opportunities for ourselves by taking those steps. And so just to say that's happened and to point fingers there is not necessarily a statement that's accurate. The Christmas packages, or the packages that we see taken is something that we all face, regardless what neighborhood we live in. Around the holidays, that's something that our FedEx and our UPS, that is something that you see throughout the news in every neighborhood. That's it's target-rich environments when people get packages that are delivered. Unfortunately, people take advantage of that and they take that. Now the motel is it's a transient population that comes in there. And so that's what we're dealing with. When you rent motels for low fees, you deal with a constant different group of people. So the issues that you saw back in the spring with the cars lined up, that those individuals are no longer there. So it's constantly changing and it's always fluid. And so I can tell you that we've put a lot of resources in there since the last time you and I have met. There have been arrests that have been made there. There's been a lot of undercover surveillance there. I have sat there myself for hours, and very little movement is going on right there. But that's not to say that there's nothing going on there, but it's not hand-to-hand drug transactions happening every single day. That's not occurring. I'm not saying that there isn't issues there. There are probably issues there because we are making some arrests, and that is going to be a priority for my officers. They know to call off on it. I have a lot of extra patrol where they're calling off on the radio, they're patrolling it. If you're not seeing them there, I know they're there. They're there, uniformed officers are there on all shifts. I have my drug task force officers are there working it. My command staff is there working it. I have been there working it. I have sat in the train station, worked it, and done surveillance. They are constantly, the maintenances have been out. The only person moving on that lot that I've been out there for hours myself is the maintenance that have been out there cleaning it. Now, Mr. Wheatley, what he's talking about with them cutting through, he has a rock wall that sits on his property. And what they're doing is they cut through there, and there's some hedges there. And then when they cut through the hedges, they tear his rock wall down, and he has to pick that up and restock it, and then they tear it back down again. And it's a problem. And so I'll go personally meet with the owner to see, they were supposed to extend the fence down behind the bushes so they would quit going back in over his rock wall, because it is a lot of work what Mr. Wheatley's doing there, where they're cutting through his property. It has a chain link fence that comes down, but they're getting around that and coming through the hedges there. So that is a problem that needs to be come all the way down his property, so they can't cut through his wall there to increase that security. This is not something that we're gonna go away from. I've offered to meet with the entire neighborhood. I'll meet as often as you all want. We can meet at the police station. We can keep that line of communication open. We're here 24/7, and we're gonna continue to work with the residents of the neighborhood to make sure that you all feel safe in your neighborhood and in your homes. And whatever we need to do that we're gonna work together to do to accomplish that, and work with the beat officers. Looking over the calls for service, that we had 60 calls for service at that location last year in 2017, and they ranged from domestics to suspicious people. Extra patrols counted in there. So those 60 calls for service did include investigations and extra patrol from my officers that were there. So it's something that we're going to continue to work on. The prostitution that you talked about, we have actually tried to work on that, but have been unsuccessful in any efforts to actually catch anybody doing that type of activity. Not to say that it's not happening, but we have been unsuccessful in making any type of arrest in that nature. But we will continue to work those angles also.
No, it's summertime. Spring.
I can tell you that we're working with the owners and the managers. They're very cooperative with us, and they are, if they have problematic people that rent from them, they will not allow them back on their property. So they are at least trying to take a proactive approach to try to keep problems out of their
I wouldn't consider
location.
that proactive though, sorry to interrupt, but I wouldn't consider that proactive if they're not screening people before they rent it. I mean, they're doing that after the problem, which to me is.
I'm sure there's some legal, I'm sure you,
Yeah.
from a hotel, I don't know that you can screen somebody before you rent. But I can tell you, working with many other hotels, there's many hotels out there that won't work with us at all. And they're at least working with us and going in the right
I
direction.
have a question. Is it a daily, a nightly hotel, or is it a weekly rental? What is their license? I mean, what?
They're a hotel, and so I talked to Jan Johnson today at the Planning Commission. She couldn't be here tonight. And in terms of a zoning solution, which by the way is not, they could get in zoning compliance and you'd still have the issues you're talking about. I hope you all understand that. But it is, if they were to do long-term rentals, Jan seemed to indicate to me that that would be more residential than commercial. They're currently zoned commercial, which would allow for essentially less than 31-day rentals. If they are more of a long-term residential, that would become more of an apartment, and that would be residential. But all they'd have to do is request a rezoning for the property to get in compliance with that. So, that's I don't know that that's going to be a complete solution. In terms of the code enforcement, I know that the code enforcement people have been working trying to keep the property better maintained. And in terms of the pool, I don't know that there's much we can do from the pool other than to make sure that they keep it as clean as they possibly can. There may be a health department issue. I'm not sure. Last time we talked about this issue, we talked about checking with the health department about mosquito type of infestation or something like that. But understand there's a lot of standing water throughout the city of Bardstown. So we have to be careful that we don't selectively enforce because they have these other problems. That's why code enforcement and zoning are effective tools to a point, but won't satisfy or take care of some of the issues that you're talking about, which are more law enforcement. But they have been cited on a couple of different occasions for the pool and for trash, and have brought things into compliance, and then had to go back and reinspect and make sure that they're still keeping up with it. And so it's something that code enforcement's aware of and are trying to keep on top of.
Is it a halfway house?
We have heard the rumor that it's a de facto halfway house. Is there any truth to that, or does anybody really know?
I have not heard anything to that effect myself.
The halfway house as in released prisoners?
Yes, that's what we have been told over the last 6 months or so.
That would be a different zoning classification even still, I believe. So I'll ask Jan if that's something that, and she'd have to talk to the owners about that.
Could residents protest their zoning then if they try to get it rezoned to something else? mean, that's
Yeah, you
pretty
could object
common.
to it. I mean, I'm not sure what your grounds would be to object to it being residential.
Well,
Because you're all residential, you know, if residential is appropriate for you, it's appropriate for them, but, and it's currently commercial, but, again, not a very effective tool. You know, one of the things that we have to be, we're government, people are protected from government, people are not necessarily protected as well from individuals against individuals, but we can't selectively enforce. We can't try to drive someone out of business using these other things. That's also not due process, and we would be liable for that. So we will treat them fairly, and we will make them comply with the regulations and rules that we have. I just don't think it's going to be a very effective tool to resolve. It may resolve some of the issues, but if that were a pristine pool and they had the correct zoning and you still had these problems, I don't think you all would be satisfied.
Well,
My understanding of de facto means that it's done another way except above board. And that's the way it was explained to me that that's what's happening. I don't know that for fact or anything, but
I don't know that they could be, I think that if it's officially some sort of halfway house or something, I think they have to be licensed through the state and they have to get appropriate permits. Now, are they taking in people that have been released from jail or something?
we don't know. That's just a
Yeah.
rumor.
That's possible, but that could be in any apartment complex in the city of Bardstown. I mean, now, if that's all they're doing, if that's, you know, they've got an official program or something where that's what they're doing, and they're doing it somehow skirting regulations,
Well, from the
that's what I'm
clientele
talking
that
to.
we see come and go from there, we are afraid to leave our property. We're afraid to go away overnight. We don't get to travel anymore like we used to. We're afraid to go out and leave it because we don't know. A party in the driveway is one thing, but then up there you can't leave anything out. You can't leave your lawnmower out. You can't leave your leaf blower or anything out in the backyard. It'd be gone when you come back.
Well, I think I'd just like to share that we're not happy with the situation either, and we've had plenty of feedback on it, and it is a priority for us, you know, in terms of code enforcement and law enforcement, and we'll continue to do what we can within the legal confines that we're dealing with. So we've heard you loud and clear, and we know it's a problem. If it was the only one like this in the city, we could probably really devote unlimited resources, but we do have this issue throughout the city in terms of cars breaking in and drug dealing and so forth. But it's just the world we're living in right now. But it is going to be a priority for us, and we'll do everything we can to improve the situation. Okay?
They are zoned in the historic district, right? Right now, they're not breaking any kind of rules with historic society?
The exterior is all been appropriate and what they've applied for. Unfortunately, we can't monitor the tenants. But as far as the exterior of the building, everything they've done has been approved by my board.
Yeah, they have done some.
Well, I will have to say, I'm sorry, then the board maybe has some lower standards, because that's an eyesore. And as beautiful as that downtown is, for that to be on that corner, that's an eyesore. If they're following compliance, that shocks me, because it's ugly outside, and I think it looks awful, and it doesn't look anything historical to me.
Out front, they had that sign, what was it, rats?
It said weekly rats for about 3 years.
And Tom called Jace, the girl that's in charge of that. She told him to go over there and talk to them. And he said, well, that's not my business to go talk to them. And we see cars stop. It's not there now. They would
Saw a
stop
car from Minnesota
and take pictures.
stopped there and took pictures of,
Of that
back
big
when it
sign.
said weekly rats. And
And they wouldn't
I
do
brought
it.
it to
What's her, Johnson?
their attention, and it changed shortly thereafter.
Okay, well, thank you all for your feedback tonight, and like I say, we will make this a priority and do what we can to work to get this
Well, we
resolved.
appreciate any help you can give us. I know the chief, I think highly of her because she's doing a great job, and we have a son who is a former police officer with LMPD, and he speaks very highly
They work
of
together.
the chief. And I think you folks could not have done better than the selection you made for the chief.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm sure Chief appreciates that feedback too. Okay, let's move on then to business. Anything else? Public. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the work session on February 6th. If there's no corrections or additions, we approve that by unanimous consent. Okay. The next item of business is we have a second reading for ordinance B 2018-03, Chapter 98 of the sign regulations. I'd ask City Attorney Tim to read that summary, and then we'll ask for a motion for the second vote on the second reading.
Yes, sir, Mayor, thank you. Summary of ordinance B 2018-03, sign regulations and ordinance, amending and adopting as amended in its entirety an ordinance related to Chapter 98, sign regulations of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances. This ordinance amends Section 9805 definitions as follows: to add definitions of campus, campus directional sign, campus master sign plan, and open and closed window sign. To amend the definition of window sign interior to clarify sign types not considered window signs or temporary. To amend the definition of sign administrator to clarify that the mayor of Bardstown designates the sign administrator. To amend Section 9806B2, computation of area of multi-phase signs to clarify how back-to-back signs are treated. To amend Section 9806B3 to B3B to strike is equal to elevation of normal grade at the base of the sign in strike, to clarify and applying the calculations of sign height. Amend Section 9807F to add, quote, changeable copy and internally illuminated signs are not considered interior window signs, end quote. Amend Section 9810E to clarify and to correct the reference to Section 9811CB4. Amend Section 9811B2 to strike interiorly, in strike, and to add internally as related to signs internally illuminated. Amend Section 9811 signs requiring permits, subsections CBII1AI, CBII1BI, CBII1CI, and CBII1DI to add the following language. Freestanding signs may have two faces, provided that the two faces are either parallel to each other or at an angle not greater than 60 degrees in the addition. Add sections 9811C, B, II, 9, changeable copy window signs, which provides requirements for those signs so defined, limiting the type of display and its ability to distract the motoring public. Add section 9811C, B, II, 10, open, closed window signs to provide requirements and restrictions for signs so defined. Add section 9811C, B, II, 11, campus signs to provide for signage to be permitted by way of a campus master signage plan. This section provides for the process of submitting a master sign plan and the criteria under which the master sign plan is evaluated and approved. Amend section 9811 subsections B, C, B, II, 1C, IIC, and C, B, II, 1D, IIC to strike the term 70 and add 100 square feet as the allowed maximum sign size. Amend section 9811 CB II 5 landmark signs provided, end quote, to add subsection C, and this is the addition, such sign shall be a substitute for or in lieu of one permitted sign for the principal use, in the addition. This ordinance will also readopt in full section 98 signs of the Bardstown Code of Ordinances amended. This summary has been certified by me, Tim Butler, City Attorney.
Okay, this is second reading. I need a motion then to approve the amendments to the sign regulation of Chapter 98 of the Code, City Code.
So moved, Mayor.
We have a motion by Councilman Williams. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Buckman. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for individual votes. All in favor, starting with Councilman Copeland. Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Don't have many staff members here this evening, but any reports of any of the staff? Shay, anything you got to report on? Anything else, Chief?
We had a successful cupcakes with cops tonight at Just Baked. Starting off into the for Valentine's Day tomorrow, so they were quite busy, so that was nice.
Thank you. We had some, under new business, we had some reappointments. Individually. Or,
Yeah, probably ought to. There's 4 of them tonight. So.
We have a reappointment for Rick Caldwell, tree board, three-year term. Need a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Buckman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. We have reappointment of Nick Kipper, also from Tree Board, 3-year term. I don't know if he'd like to make a campaign promise.
That was not why I was here.
No, I know. You're part of the neighborhood. We understand.
Yeah.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to reappoint Nick Kipper for a 3-year term on the tree board.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Nick, for stepping up for reappointment on that one.
No problem.
On that
I
one.
didn't even know I was up.
And we have reappointment of Danny Reed to the Board of Adjustments, 4-year term. I need a motion to approve Danny Reed for a 4-year term on Board of Adjustments.
I'll make that motion, Mayor, to reappoint Dan Reed for a 4-year term on the Board of Adjustments.
Okay, thank you. I have appointment. Motion by Councilman Shekels. Second by Councilman Copeland. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. The last appointment is reappointment of Larry Tanner to the Housing Authority, 4-year term. Need a motion to approve Mr. Tanner, 4-year term for the Housing.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Jones, do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Councilman Williams. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Any of the council members have anything to bring before the council this evening?
I'd like to make a little comment. I've been in Frankfurt the last couple weeks working on the House, and General Assembly has having a hard time dealing with this pension crisis that is facing. And the Kentucky League of Cities has made a recommendation that I think they have 3 people out of, no, they got 6 people out of 23 people on the retirement board. And 73% of the money that's funded through the retirement board comes from CDRS instead of KRS. So they're making a motion to have the members on the council, the members of the CDRS, have their votes double counted. Because the legislators are, because they're slacking so much. So that's a proposal, a compromise proposal to make sure that CERS representatives have an equal say on what goes on with the retirement board.
So you're saying they're trying to get more people appointed through CDRS, or how do you get the
No.
vote count more than once?
Well, that's just a compromise they propose, because they've submitted to the proposal, because there's several legislators that just don't want to hear it at all. So, the KLC has been adamant about the majority of the funding that's going to the retirement system is from CDRS, the cities and counties, and their representation is the exact opposite. So they're thinking there's going to be a draft legislation come about this week. So we'll see. So,
And what was the ratio for CERS versus KRS?
I'll tell you here just one second. It's kind of crazy.
Like 6 out of 23 or something.
6 out of 23. And that's voted upon, that's a motion in front of that board.
The
that particular board.
CERS accounts for 73% of the assets and 63% of the membership in the Kentucky retirement system. Yet only 35% of the trustees governing the KRS represent CRS. CR representative accounts for only 6 out of the 17 members on the KRS Board of Trustees. So that's to answer your question.
Okay. Anything else?
So you'll be hearing some more about that as the news media gets a hold of that, I'm sure.
I just want to compliment Richey on her workshop. It was very, very good, and I can't wait for the next one. Very informative. So thank you for that. And also, a high kudos to our community as a whole. The beautiful Dreamers Ball was a huge success and very well attended, and what a wonderful thing it is for our community to come together for such a great thing such as this, the Stephen Foster drama. So I just want to make those compliments.
Thank you, Council. Okay, anybody else from council have anything? Okay. The only thing I would have a comment on is that also there's been progress made on the robotics classroom at the Kobeck building, and I think they're hoping to, there'll be an announcement, I think, in early March for an open house and to show it off. I think they're already doing some work.
Yeah.
They're already working in there, and I think some of the students are in there, but it's not finished yet, but it's coming together pretty well. So we'll let you know as we get closer. We'll certainly let the media know when they plan to have that open house. So, any other announcements? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Shekels, have a second.
Second.
Councilman Buckman, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.